love magnets. Greetings, love icons. Greetings, love warriors. How's everyone doing tonight? Greetings on this full supermoon night. You all, my name is Pangea North Star. My topic tonight on Attracting Love Energy, episode number 17, is giving yourself grace. Before I get into that, I want to properly introduce myself for those who may be joining me for the first time, and state the intention for my channel and for this talk tonight. Again, my name is Pangea North Star. I am a Reiki healer, a sound therapist, a teacher, an attraction coach. And my favorite thing to talk about is attracting love energy. The reason that I love to talk about attracting love energy is because the love is the energy that we use to heal ourselves, right? Love is the energy that we use for healing, for forgiveness of ourselves first and others. Love is the energy that attracts abundance. Love is the energy of self-acceptance. Love is the energy of abundance, right? So attracting love energy into your life consists of emitting love energy, because we are always attracting the same frequency that we are putting out, that we are emitting, right? Greetings, Blue Lotus. So good to see you. We're always attracting the same frequency that we're putting out. So therefore, that's why it's so important for us to emit love energy so that we then bring in and attract love energy into our lives, so that we begin to create this continuous flow, this cycle of love going out, love coming in, love going out, love coming in, right? So for many of you, when you hear the word love, you may immediately think of romance, you may think of marriage, you're thinking of dating, you're thinking of that type of love. And I want us to get away from that being our only definition of love, okay? And it's certainly not the only type of love that is important or that matters or that adds to our lives. You've got humanitarian love, compassionate love, right? That's a type of love that you show yourself, right? When you give yourself grace, which is our topic for tonight, giving yourself grace, that is showing love to yourself. This is how you begin to heal yourself, how you begin to forgive yourself, how you begin to accept yourself, how you begin to attract abundance of all kinds into your life, right? And the love that you show for yourself, that doesn't necessarily fall into the category of romantic love, right? It doesn't, right? So that type of love is very, very important. Self-love is where it all begins. You also have the type of love that you share with your family, familial love, right? And this can be your biological family or your tribe, your soul family, right? Especially curating my soul family and my tribe is very, very important to me. I have a huge emphasis on that in my life right now. And the more I do it, the more I realize just how important it is, right? So that is another very important type of love. Your friendship loves, right? Where would we be without having dear friends? Someone that we care about and that cares about us. Friendship is extremely important. Your friendships, your friends are the family that you actually get to choose. You know, I grew up hearing this saying, you don't get to choose your family, right? It just was like an inside joke in our family. Anytime somebody say or do something, it could be something funny or it could be something really messed up, and somebody would say, well, you don't get to choose your family, right? It's kind of a sarcastic kind of joke that we had, right? But it's true. You don't get to choose your biological family, but you get to choose your friends, your friend family, right? And your soul family, I believe, is your family of your spiritual friends. This may also be people who are soul fragments for you. And I try to each week I want to like introduce a new term to you, because I just always assume that there are people that are new in the spiritual space that are joining these conversations, and I want you to feel comfortable in these conversations, right? So as I use this term soul fragment, I want to describe what a soul fragment is. A soul fragment, my definition of a soul fragment is people with whom you share a kinship on a spiritual level. Okay. For me, my son is a soul fragment. My grandmother is a soul fragment. Um, um, this is my maternal grandmother. As well as I have friends, people that have absolutely no biological relation to me that I'm aware of that are soul fragments. This is a group of people with whom I have a spiritual connection. And as I progress, greetings, Shanae, thank you for joining us tonight. As I progress, right, as I reach for more on a spiritual level, as I begin to meditate and curate my energy centers, right, as I experience miracles in my life and leap to higher timelines, more is available to them because they are a soul fragment for me, right? Greetings, Dabney. Thank you for joining us tonight, right? So your special friends, people that you meet, just unassumingly, especially if it's during a time where you're doing a certain type of spiritual work in your life, or you're meditating on a very specific thing that you're trying to call in, pay attention to who you meet around that time. That person may very well be a soul fragment. Okay. So, and the same is true vice versa. As my soul fragments reach for more in their life and they elevate, as they attain more, they attain higher levels spiritually, higher levels are available to me in the spirit realm. Okay? So higher levels are attainment are available to me because they are doing their work, and higher levels of attainment are available to them because I am doing my work. Okay? This is what I would consider a soul fragment. Okay? So this is very important to be aware of, because what we're talking about is different types of love. Okay. And we want to have plenty of love in our lives to make our lives peaceful, to make our lives joyous, to make our lives have a certain flow, to be in flow with spirit, right? This flow, this current that carries us to our highest timeline, carries us to the things that we are here to accomplish, right? Things that we are contracted to accomplish while we're here, the reason that we chose to come here in this incarnation, connecting with our soul fragments, and other people that we share a certain kind of love with in life. Love is the current that carries us there. Okay. So I want you guys to begin to expand your definition of love. Okay. That's one thing, one of the major things I hope to accomplish through this channel. Okay. Now, our topic tonight is very, very related to all that. Giving yourself grace, right, is an element of self-love that is so important. And I want to give some examples of what it may look like to give yourself grace. Okay. Now, in general, a general definition of giving yourself grace means not holding yourself to this really strict, staunch, inflexible, just hardcore standard that a lot of times we are holding ourselves to this really high, hard, you know, abusive, really standard. Okay. And the reason I say abusive is because this is how this is how I want you to look at this. Okay. A lot of us hold ourselves to a standard that is so high, that is so brutal, that's so inflexible, that if someone else were in our lives, in our personal space, living in our household, holding us to this type of standard, you know, criticizing us the way we criticize ourselves in our thoughts, you know, having these high expectations on us and everything that we do. If there were someone outside of yourself doing that to you, you would call that abuse. All right. Some of us are doing it in the area of your career and your finances. You know, do you talk, you know, how do you talk to yourself in your thoughts? Ask yourself that question. You know, are you saying, hey, great job with attaining this level of success that you're at now? You know, this is better than anybody ever thought you would do, or better than people, you know, more than what they expected of you. You know, people told you it was never going to be anything. You're doing better than majority of the people that you grew up with. You know, good job. You know, or you did accomplish this goal this year. Good job. I wonder what else you can do next. Let's find something else to do. Or are you saying, you know, to yourself, do you talk to yourself like this? Don't be a loser. Don't be lazy. Why haven't you accomplished this yet? I thought you were going to do that. You know, you're a flake, right? You're a failure. How many of us actually motivate ourselves using negative language inside of our heads? Years ago, I realized that I was still motivating myself with negative language. And it was interesting, this because it happened 5 years ago that I had that realization within myself. But maybe 10 years ago, so even 5 years prior to my realization about how I was talking to myself, I had a situation where I had a trainer um, who, like a physical trainer, who was just like barking, you know, orders, and said something to me one day that made me stop what I was doing in the middle of the workout and say, hey, check this out. Negative motivation doesn't work on me. Encouragement works better. You know, I had to stop and let him know that. Right. So it was like, it was something I could say to someone else, but it wasn't until 5 years later that I realized I was doing that same thing to myself. Right? I would have never guessed until I stopped and thought about what I was thinking about, which is a skill, you guys. You got to learn to think about what you're thinking about. Right? Pay attention to your thoughts. Catch those thoughts run across your head and listen to the words, the way in which you speak to yourself. If it's not the way you would allow someone else to speak to you, or not the way you would speak to someone you love, like a child or a parent, you know, or someone, you know, that's in your care, then don't speak to yourself that way, right? Be kind to yourself, right? In the comments, that's why it's so hard for some of us to accept compliments and praise. Absolutely, because we are not complimenting and praising ourselves, right? If you don't compliment and praise yourself, if you don't encourage yourself, then when someone else gives you a compliment or gives you praise, it feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar and it's difficult to accept. Somebody says, "Oh, I like what you got on." You say, "Oh, this old thing, girl, I had this for 12 years. I got this, 12 years ago." You know, do you have to say something like that? Do you have to brush off that compliment, or can you just accept and be like, "Oh, thank you. This is my color, isn't it?" When I looked at myself in the mirror this morning, I was like, "Yeah, girl, this is it." Right? It should, listen, you should have already been thinking that by the time somebody compliments you. You know, it's good to say positive things to yourself, to encourage yourself, to praise yourself, to compliment yourself. And then when someone else is that kind to you, that feels familiar, right? It feels familiar. When you receive praise and compliments on a regular basis, it feels familiar when someone else compliments you. Then you're not thirsty for compliments from other people, right? It doesn't just rock your world when somebody gives you a compliment. People can't snow you and like manipulate you with compliments because they can't use your starvation for compliments and praise and encouragement against you. Think about it, right? It's very important to motivate yourself with kindness. Kindness, that is one aspect of giving yourself grace. Okay, how do you motivate yourself? Is it with kindness, with rewards, or is it with negativity? Is it with starvation? Is it with withholding good things from yourself? Is it by pushing yourself to the limit all the time, right? Not giving yourself wiggle room. You know, are you kind and spacious and gracious, towards others, but not towards yourself? If you are, that is a indicate and that is indicative of neediness. It's self-deprecation, deprivation rather, and it's not a very loving thing to do to yourself, right? So another aspect of the way I want to describe not giving yourself grace can be when you are holding yourself to a really tight schedule, for example. Okay, we're going to go deep into these examples. Not giving yourself enough flow in your schedule, right? Especially, this is a huge one for entrepreneurs, and I am speaking to myself. This is something I'm still working on. I'm constantly working on something. But one way I tend to corner myself and not be kind to myself, this is the level I'm working with myself at now. One thing I'm still working on is making my schedule spacious, not having clients, not scheduling clients back to back to back, not doing that to myself, right? I need to give myself room to take breaks, right? And to actually enjoy what I'm doing and not to always be at this feverish pace. Why do we do that to ourselves? So many of us do that to ourselves, whether we're entrepreneurs or not. But we expect ourselves to keep this fast pace. You push yourself to the limit every day. You expect yourself to accomplish everything, whatever you're saying yes to everything, right? And then if you don't get everything done, or if you miss something, you're going to beat yourself up. Don't do that. That is not kind, right? That's not kind. Leave room in your schedule for you to take care of your body, right? Leave room in your schedule for you to prepare and to eat nutritious meals. That is a lost art in this society, right? It is a lost art to prepare yourself for success by taking care of your body. Give yourself time to go for a short walk during the day. Take a short nap if you need to take a short nap. Do what you need to do. Listen, your body is the vehicle that supports your spiritual ascension. So if you want to ascend on a spiritual level, you must support your body. Your body supports your ascension, right? Give your body what it needs so that it can support you in what you are trying to accomplish. And it doesn't matter if it's your spiritual ascension or your career goals, right? Or even if you're trying to improve, your health, you want to work out. Well, eat well, sleep well, right? Pay attention to how much sleep it takes for you to feel refreshed. Give yourself a bedtime. Bedtimes are not for children. Bedtimes are for adults who want to be at peak productivity, right? The best way to be productive is not to push yourself to the limit, but to be spacious and be gracious with yourself, supporting your physicality, which supports your mentality, your emotionality, and all of that combined comprises your spirituality. Okay? So, another way that you may give yourself grace may be with not taking on too much. Perhaps you need to spread out some of your goals. Maybe something that you want to accomplish in 6 months, you need to be trying to accomplish within a year or 3 years. Are you expecting yourself to be an overnight sensation? Are you pushing yourself to reach a certain goal so quickly? Are you pushing yourself to, you're driving yourself to work so hard that you won't enjoy the journey on the way there, right? Say you want to save enough money to buy a house. I'll just use that as an example. Instead of telling yourself, well, I'm going to do this in 6 months to a year, what would be the amount of breathing room you'd be giving yourself if you say, I'm going to give myself 3 years for this, right? If you try to save enough money within 6 months to buy this house, will you be working day and night for that? Will you be rewarding yourself with healthy foods? Or are you going to be skimping and eating, ramen noodles for 6 months? What does that do to your body, right? Are you going to be skipping time with your family because you're trying to put in overtime? Skipping time with your friends? Time that you'll never get back? Are you pushing yourself to the brink? You don't even have time, in each day, or maybe you're skipping those, lunches with your friends that you have, every weekend or once a month just to save a little extra money. When that time with your friends is when you get the emotional support that you need. Be mindful of what you sacrifice. You may think, oh, I'm sacrificing some money, I'm sacrificing some time, and you're really sacrificing yourself, right? I've got a comment. It says, I think I'm doing that right now, and it's so subtle. Yes, it can be very subtle. And the thing that contributes to the subtlety to it is that we are surrounded by this culture that says, go hard, hustle, grind, I'll sleep when I die. Ain't that a mess? I'll sleep when I die. You're going to die a lot earlier if you're not giving yourself proper rest. But our society, our culture rewards that, and no one has to be your taskmaster, your slave master if you're doing that to yourself, right? This is a trick. This is a trap. If you're going to beat yourself to death, if you're going to work yourself into an early grave, nobody has to stand over you and force you to do that. If you see being a hard worker as a badge of honor, no one has to force you to work hard, right? Seeing yourself, being a hard worker as a badge of honor is so common. But guess who is common amongst? Those who would be considered, the, financially lower class, okay, working class. Those who are slated by the higher ups to, you and your family, you were born, if we were in a caste system, We're born into this system to be hard workers, to be laborers, right? Do you think people who are born into that upper 1% or 5% brag about being hard workers? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right? And those who are wealthy did not become wealthy by working two jobs, working two full-time jobs. You know, that's not how that works. That's not how it works. You always hear these multi millionaires, these people who started these, big huge corporations always say something like, "Oh, I started this in my parents' garage. I dropped out of college and started this in my parents' garage." Why? Because they hated school. They knew that what they were doing, that was just something they were told they had to do, but they knew they weren't born to do that. And they were in their parents' garage because that's what they could afford to do. They were being gracious to themselves by pursuing their dream. Okay? We got another comment. Yep, I invested in myself, but I've been eating ramen for the last 5 months. Listen, whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's not being aided by those ramen noodles. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Okay? Ramen noodles, and I'm using this, it's just an example, it's a metaphor, but it's not. It's a joke, but it's not. Because think about that. We really do that, eating stuff like ramen noodles and hot dogs because it's cheap. But what can our body and our brain glean from something like ramen noodles that has no nutrition in it whatsoever? Now, whatever it is that you're trying to put your mind towards, you have less mental power to even accomplish that, right? And when your physical health and your brain power is lacking, when your nutrition is lacking, your mental health is lacking, your emotions are unstable, this is what happens to us. Our body begins to break down. But because we don't see ourselves as all one unit, one being. We see ourselves as, our physicality not being connected to how we think, to our thoughts. We don't see that, what we eat directly affects the thoughts that we have. We don't see that. We don't see that what we eat directly affects our moods. That connection is not drawn for us. It's not spelled out for us in our culture. Okay? So when we are eating these things that are processed foods and our body is scrambling just to survive, they're the chemicals in our brains that say, feel good, give yourself grace, stay calm, the chemicals that keep our nervous system calm and allow us to be at our peak ability to think through our challenges and to think through our daily lives, to think through difficult moments and to resolve problems, to figure out, to problem solve. That nutrition is not there. Our body is triaging suddenly like, oh shit, she only gave us ramen noodles. She gave us hot dogs. And we're even doing this to our children. We got to think about this as parents. She gave us McDonald's. There's no nutrition in this. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze out whatever I can just to keep the heart, the brain, and the lungs functioning. All, the energy that I need to learn well, for those who got children in school, to learn well, to learn at my best. The nutrition I need to keep my internal organs functioning well at peak performance. What I need to be able to concentrate, to stay focused, whether it's at school or on your career goals. Our body needs us to eat well, needs us to rest well, needs us to exercise in order to support us in our spiritual journey. okay, in our career goals and our progression through life. I hope this makes sense. Shanae says, my nephew says she's speaking facts. The babies are listening. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Our bodies are just vehicles for the energy that we are. And energy is what? Emotions. Our emotions. Okay, another way that you can be gracious and spacious to yourself is to pay attention to your emotions. Okay, I was speaking to a client about this today. We were talking about how we are taught to ignore our emotions, and that if you're being emotional, that means you're being irrational, and that, any decisions that you made from your emotions is to be dismissed, right? We're taught that leaders, strong leaders don't, make decisions based off of emotion, right? When someone is intentionally trying to demean a woman, they say what? You're just being emotional, right? However, our frequency, we're always talking about good vibes and frequency, our, vibrations. What is it that is emitting that frequency on a scientific level? It is our emotions. Your energy, your good vibes, your aura is comprised of your emotions, right? And yes, women, we may be more emotional. Why? It's because we're intuitive. We're intuitive. Women are naturally more intuitive. It's not just that, oh, we're naturally more emotional. Let me explain this. And guys, don't let me lose you here. I'm going to challenge you to tune in and stay with me here. Okay? Women are naturally more intuitive because we have a womb. Okay? A womb is a direct connection to the spirit world. Why am I saying that? Babies come from the spirit world to the physical world through the womb. That just is what it is, period, point blank. But on an energetic level, men also have a womb. This is called the sacral chakra, and it is located in your pelvic region. Okay? It is located in your pelvis, just below your navel. Okay? You should curate the energy that is there, okay, to increase your intuition, as well as doing third eye meditations, visualizations, clearings. You want to curate this energy in order to become more intuitive, to understand more of the world around you. One of the biggest complaints that women have about men, and one of the biggest causes of the things men complain about for themselves, are not understanding, not being able to connect to their own emotions or other people's emotions, is because of a lack of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence comes from intuition, okay? Intuition. Intuition is a sense of what is happening that you can't necessarily see. It's beyond the physical. It's how other people feel. It's what other people may be thinking. It may be what's likely to happen next. What does someone mean when they said something? I heard their words, but what did they actually mean by that? Right? What may be a good next move for you in your life or in a particular relationship, in your career? Intuition. Okay? It is a knowing that is bigger than just what you can touch, see, and hear, what's spelled out for you in the physical world. Okay? Women tend to feel their way through life, whereas men experience their way through life. Why? What do I mean by that? As women, you always hear us talking about our feelings. It feels like such and such, and I feel like that. What we're really saying is that my intuition is telling me. I have a deep knowing about this. I don't know where it's coming from. But when I picture this third eye, right? When I imagination and intuition is located, concentrated in the third eye, right? When I picture this in my mind, I feel like that. It's a feeling that comes in your body. It's a feeling that just comes, it comes with emotion. It comes with a deep knowing. It's intuition. It's a gut feeling. Okay? It's intuition. Sometimes you just know stuff and you don't really know how you know it. I just know it. Someone happy like I knew it. Told you. Right? But as women, all of our lives, we are naturally more in tune with other people's feelings because what we do is grow other humans inside of our bodies, and our biology is constructed to do that, right? It's part of the survival mechanism of humans. A mother needs to know without someone having to tell her if something's wrong with the baby that she's carrying. It's just part of survival. A mother needs to know if something is in her environment that's not safe for her and her baby. It's just part of the survival of the human species. Okay? Men were blessed with the musculature, right, as a means of survival mechanism and a defense mechanism. Every creature has its own defense mechanism, right? Ours is our intuition. Okay? Whereas men, unless they pay special attention to that energy, that sacral chakra, sacral, SACRAL, for those who are really interested enough to research this, men who curate that energy of the sacral chakra are more intuitive. But without that, you naturally come here very physical beings. You understand what you can touch. You understand what you hear. You listen to the words we actually say, not the feelings behind the words. Whereas women, we're in a conversation, we're feeling what other people feel. We're learning all the time. We always talk about the subconscious mind is always taking in information, right? The subconscious mind is taking in thousands and thousands of bits of information every second. I may be speaking to you right now, but my subconscious mind is recording what's happening outside in my neighborhood from the noises that I hear, right? But we're always taking in information. A woman's subconscious mind is naturally taking in information based on intuition. We feel what everybody is feeling in the room. We're in a conversation. We're listening to the words you say, but also feeling the feelings behind the words that you say. Okay? And yes, I'm not saying that every woman is psychic and is going to always get it right. Not saying that, because the thing that you think someone else is thinking or feeling can be colored by the filter. It's colored by the filter that you bring it in through. That's why you got to master your energies. That's why you got to heal your trauma. Because your filter, you could be taking in that information through a filter of trauma. Hello. And you're thinking somebody's thinking something about you that they are not. Right? But as women, that's another stream of learning that we have. Whereas for most men, he's listening for the words you say. And that's what he's going to respond to, what you said, not what you meant or what you felt when you said what you said, but just what you said. And that's a huge part of the challenge of communication between men and women. Men are listening for your words, whereas women are feeling for your feelings, feeling for the feelings behind the words that you said, and interpreting all that. If that makes sense, give me some hearts in the chat. If you've experienced this, if that resonates with you, right? We are learning by intuition, okay? Part of giving yourself grace can be following your intuition. If your schedule says this, but your intuition says that, perhaps you need to listen to your intuition. If your schedule says You got to be somewhere, at 8, and your intuition says, hmm, I think I may need to go in a little early. I don't know how this meeting's about to go. I think I need to get there a little early and take my time and prepare today, right? Or your intuition may have said, hey, we need a mental health day. We're not feeling good today. We don't have the type of energy, type of fuel we normally have today. But you push yourself to go in at 8 anyway. What happens? The meeting goes bad. You end up snapping. You say something you shouldn't say. You shouldn't have said. Your filter's not there that day because you didn't get the rest that you needed. Right? Or you're only hearing the words that are said, but not hearing the meaning behind the words this day. You didn't give yourself the rest that you need. Right? Be spacious. Be gracious with yourself. Give yourself grace. Giving yourself grace. I'm going to tell you, this topic came to mind. One of the things, many things that's happened recently that made this topic come to mind for me for tonight, as I was sharing with one of my closest friends and soul family. I was sharing with her my story of how I did not learn that I was experiencing symptoms of ADD until I was in my 40s. Right? Full grown adult. Never knew that I had ADD. Okay? Did not realize that was what was going on with me. Right? Because I always had really good grades in school. I was an academic, I was able to stay ahead of the class, even though it was difficult for me to do like long projects, difficult for me to focus on things that meant I had to, keep all of my attention in one place. I was able to make up the difference by being, intellectual. They would consider intellectual, reading above my grade level and things of that nature, So no one ever noticed how hard it was for me to get or stay focused. I was also a class clown. I was also a daydreamer and lived in my head a lot. And a lot of things in my life I had set out, I would set out to do, I would start a project and never finish the project, right? So I developed this negative narrative of myself, telling myself I was flaky or, unreliable, which is really untrue, very untrue, right? But when I found myself older in office settings, another symptom was that I just had a very hard time keeping up with all the emails. I did not understand how everyone around me could keep up with all these darn emails. Right? Crazy. But I never, because I was holding myself to this very performance-based, results-based type of model, was like, hey, as long as you can, get the grades in school or, speak well in the meeting, as long as you get this report out, as long as you, do the things, you meet the metrics, it doesn't matter that you had to do all this negative self-talk to get there, right? Because I was doing my negative self-talk then. It doesn't matter that you had to stay up all night to get it done, whereas someone else got it done in a few hours. Or, I can remember being, nobody noticed, and I didn't realize it was a problem, that I had all these papers in my backpack when I was in school. I'll use this example. All these papers in my backpack. My papers were always all over the place. I didn't have them like neatly in my notebook, right? My assignments would be all over the place. I open my backpack and there's all these papers, right? I can remember several times turning in work and forgetting to put my name on it. We always used to have a certain heading, your name, your class, the date, and what the assignment was. I would forget that all the time, and my teachers would say stuff to me like, "How do you forget to put the heading on your paper? This has been the same. You're in my class every day. Every assignment has got the same heading. How can you forget that? You know." I remember not being able to write on the line. My handwriting wouldn't stay right on the lines of the papers. My handwriting would float. My handwriting was also barely legible because my mind was racing so fast. It's hard for me to finish, a whole word or, take the time to form my letters neatly. These were some symptoms of ADD. But because I had been taught to have this, you know, very military, very militant, very strict, and, high standard, just get it done, get it done, get it done. All that mattered was the score. It didn't matter how much stress I had put myself under, how hard it was for me to accomplish that. That didn't matter. All that mattered was the result, was that you shine in front of people. It didn't matter how much I had stressed out, how much sleep did I lose, how negative had I talked to myself in order to get myself to this particular goal. All that mattered was the performance, right? The result, the end result. Okay? That's not giving yourself grace. When I was working in a setting where, I don't know if I've ever told the story that I had stopped, my entrepreneurial ventures at one point and went to work in a call center of all places. The worst place for an empath to work. Oh my gosh, I think it's the worst place. Like a call center or like a prison or something like that. It's a terrible place for an empath to work. Especially an empath that does not know how to control their sensitivity, their intuition, their empathic abilities is where I was working. And I was struggling so bad to keep up with everything that was happening, all the streams of communication and conversation, the emails, the clients calling in. I'm feeling their feelings and taking their, complaints. And then I'm feeling the feelings of the person in the cubicle next to me and how much they hated being there. It was a lot, right? But I finally was like, listen, I know this job. It's a simple job, and I know that people that don't have the same, level of IQ or even survival skills or whatever are like killing it at this job because their organizational skills are on point. Their focus and their, attention to detail is on point. It finally got so difficult for me that I started to, voice my frustrations. And someone very close to me, I won't say who because they may not be comfortable with other people knowing that they, were suffering with ADD, but someone in my bloodline was telling me that they, realized as an adult that they were suffering with ADD. And I was like, really? And I said, well, how did you know? And they started telling me, and I was like, oh my God, I think I may have that going on with me. I was so overwhelmed that it still was a couple of years before I got myself checked out and got myself some help. But when I finally did, oh my God, oh my God. Just looking into it was giving myself grace, right? Because I had to stop saying something is wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just keep pace with everybody? Why can't you just do it? What's wrong with you? Stop being slow. Stop being stupid. Stop being a daydreamer. Stop being a slacker. Stop procrastinating. It really was none of those things. But I was telling myself all this negative crap, right? Not listening to myself, not asking questions like I would if someone I loved, not like I would if someone I loved were struggling, right? Because I was not in a place of self-love at that time. But the way I would have treated someone outside of me that I loved, by, asking more questions and trying to investigate and see what's going on, I didn't do that for myself. But when I finally spoke to a professional and stopped telling myself, oh, it's something wrong, something Must be wrong with you. Don't go talk to somebody. When I finally did that, oh my God, the relief of just knowing that something could be going on, that I wasn't the only person, you know, going through that, and that it didn't mean that I'm secretly stupid and nobody knew it. Besides, my grades always were. Things like that, I still had this tape playing saying, you being stupid. Of all things, one of my tapes was Don't Be Stupid. And that's crazy. For a person who read on a college level in the third grade, my secret negative tape, my favorite negative tape was Don't Be Stupid. That's crazy. It's crazy. So just talking to someone about it was a huge relief, a huge grace to myself. But when I actually allowed myself to take medication, what? Now my follow through on point. Now this shadow person that I always knew that I was, that can do and can accomplish and achieve on a consistent basis over time, this person is now here out on the surface, right? This person is out here and can be seen and not just living in my head. To this day, I was just telling my friend this yesterday, like to this day, I'm still realizing all the time how much I was living in my head and didn't know it. I had to free that person by giving myself grace. And I cannot fully explain how much it improved my life. Right? But so many times we're not giving ourselves grace because we're holding ourselves to some mythical standard. It may have been, you may be comparing yourself to other people around you, that, oh, I should be able to just, because they can just do this, I should be able to just do that. Or the way that the things, are working out for that person, why isn't it working out for me that way? It must be something wrong with me. Another thing me and my friend talked about was that I was speaking on how we carry our energy as a motherly energy. I have another friend that told me that my energy is motherly. And the first time that she said, I was like, like I did not like that. I was like, what is she trying to say? Like I didn't like it. And I had such a negative, it took time for me to realize I had such a negative association with the motherliness. I thought of motherliness as like matronly, somebody that's dowdy, somebody that's not attractive, somebody older, somebody repressed and oppressed, not somebody young and hot and vibrant. And, the way I see myself, I saw it as a negative thing because of the way I saw my mother having to do motherhood. It was stressful. It was without support, right? It was that she always had to be strong, It was that she was not, women in those days were not, free to own their sexuality, right? And you couldn't, it wasn't, I guess proper or whatever. I'm sure that doesn't quite seem like the right word, but you weren't supposed to just like accept compliments shamelessly. You're supposed to kind of downplay it, like we talked about earlier. If somebody gives you a compliment, it wasn't considered good manners to think highly of yourself. So when I think of motherly energy, that was what I thought of. Somebody repressed, somebody stressed out, somebody, not with a free spirit, not energetic, not vibrant, right? So I took some time to like evaluate that. Why did I have this reaction to being called motherly, right? And I had to work with that, I had to let that marinate and you do some shadow work on that. It's like, I own my motherly energy now. Come to mama. That's how I feel about it now, right? Come to mama for this activation, right? That's good energy. That's fertile energy. That's prosperous energy. That's vibrant energy. That's creative energy. right? That's fire, right? That's good. That's good stuff. Where would the world be without mothers? We wouldn't be here, right? So, you guys, things that are modeled for us are one of the places that this mythical standard, this unreachable, unattainable, brutal standard is set for us. It's one of the ways that these standards are set for us. Something we're comparing ourselves to that prevents us from giving ourselves a break when we need it. Okay? I see we have somebody new came into the room. Welcome, whoever you are. Greetings. If y'all have questions, now's the time. If y'all have comments, now's the time because we're going to be wrapping up soon. But I just want to run through some ways in which you may need to give yourself grace. We talked about you may need to give yourself sleep, proper nutrition, more space in your calendar, more space in your daily schedule, right? And if you have the ability to be flexible in your schedule, you may decide to shift your schedule so that you're not working, doing this, 5 days on, 2 days off. There may be a better combination for you. How about a 4-day work week and 3 days off? Or you may work for 7 days and then take 4 or 5 days off. If whatever type of flexibility you have, play with that. Reimagine your life. Reimagine your schedule according to what your body tells you that you works for you, that you need, right? If your work is very, it's intellectual, there's a lot of thinking, you got to do a lot of reading. Well, what time of day do you feel more able to process information? If you're not a morning person and there's any option for you to do your work in the evening, do that. Don't force yourself because it's what everybody else is doing. At what time would you be more productive in doing that? I'm very proud of one of my close friends for changing her schedule recently because it was what worked for her, right? You may, one time I showed myself grace by filing bankruptcy. Sure did. So glad I did. So glad I did. I was able to bounce back and make a miraculous recovery financially, but there was a time in my life I filed bankruptcy and I was giving myself grace by doing so. It took so much stress off of me. I felt so much better. I felt human again. I wanted to live again. The financial stress I was under was making me want to check out. When I got divorced, I was giving myself grace. Hello, somebody. Right? A breakup can be giving yourself grace. Some of you need a friend, a special friend. Okay? Some of you need to attend to another aspect of your sacral energy. You need some sensuality in your life. Give yourself grace by giving yourself that. Okay? If you're doing a celibacy or abstinence journey, more power to you, but don't do it too long. It's out of balance. It's out of balance. You become out of balance when you do not attend to yourself in that way. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay? Maybe you need your back cracked. Okay? Maybe you need to be cracking some backs. Or whoever you are. Give yourself grace in that area. Right? Attend to that energy. It's refreshing. It's restorative. It's revitalizing. And if you feel that your libido is lacking and you don't want any, maybe you don't want any because you have not had any. Try it. It's like riding a bike. Some things you just don't forget. Right? Y'all know what I believe in. Keep it cracking. Okay? Love energy for everybody. Yes. See? Y'all listen. Give me some hearts in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. It's real. You need that in your life. You need relief. You need release. You need rejuvenation. Okay? It's very important. You may need to give yourself grace by um, exercising. Okay. Yeah, somebody said, get them Mario coins knocked out of you. That's right. I see that comment in the chat. Get those Mario coins knocked out. Bling, bling. You need it. You need it. It's very healthy. Okay. The doctor prescribed. Dr. Benji. Yeah. Much needed. Address all of yourself. Okay. You're not just a mom or just a dad, just an employee, right? Just an entrepreneur, just an artist, just a caretaker. Be balanced in all areas of your life, right? Stand in full acceptance of all aspects of yourself. Okay? Try that. Strive to get to a place where you are in full acceptance of all aspects of yourself. Okay? So you're not just a parent or just an employee or just the keeper of this, the person who's responsible for this pet or this baby or this elderly person or this home or this business, whatever the case may be. You are also a sensual being. Yes. If anyone has any questions, please add your questions now before we wrap up. Okay, you may need to show yourself more grace by using your creativity, utilizing your creativity. Let me tell you something. If you are a creative, right? If you're a person that has a creative ability, that is an artist, that enjoys doing something creative, you have the ability to create something beautiful, different, unique, whatever. It may be something that you don't even put a lot of weight on it, but it's actually very unique and important and meaningful. It's very, a beautiful gift, right? If you don't use that gift, you will become depressed and anxious. Okay? Think about, what did you like to do when you were younger? Before somebody told you it wasn't cool, before somebody told you it wasn't important, before somebody told you that you couldn't make a living doing that, what was it that you really liked to do? Did you write? Did you draw? Did you paint? Did you sing? Did you dance? Did you like to take things apart and put them back together? Right? I had a client one time that was like a shadow event planner, that was great at planning events. And she used to love to get her friends together and do stuff when she was young. But then something traumatic happened and she got shamed for doing that. Now I'll leave it at that. Okay? But then she never took her power back. I was like, yes, I can plan these events. I can cause all these people to converge in one place and have a beautiful experience together. She stopped doing that, right? When you stop doing something that you truly have a gift for, it doesn't matter whether it's something you had fully developed or something you were doing for fun. And everybody has something that's a gift. I do not like to hear people say, I don't have a gift. If you don't know what your gift is, that's fine. Make it your business to discover your gift. But it's not true that you don't have a gift. Okay, everyone has a gift. But if you are not using your gifts, you will be depressed. You will be anxious. And that's just the truth. Okay, you cannot, we've been trained, many of us, most of us, trained that you must, do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. I challenge you to weave in what you want to do. I challenge you to remember to go back and examine yourself and express your creativity in order to create more energy to do the things that you quote unquote have to do, in order to free yourself, right? And then begin to make more and more space in your life. If what you love to do is something that you want to do full time, your creative gift or something that you're creating, something that is unique, start small and begin making more and more space for that in your life over time. But do it. Do it. Where can we start with rediscovering our gifts? Go back to your childhood, specifically before the age of 7. Okay, right around 7 or maybe a little younger. Okay, if you can't remember back that far, there could be some trauma there. But how at the earliest you can possibly remember, what were your favorite toys? What were your favorite games to play? What were your favorite things to do with people? What were the favorite things to do when you were alone? If you were just not, if nobody told you what to do, what were you most likely to do? Okay. When I think about myself as a young person, I loved, it's so weird. I'm going to stop judging myself one of these days about it and stop calling me weird. One thing I used to do, it's like I loved to care for people, right? There's a few things that I see now that I used to do that really totally make sense now. This is going to sound gross, but I'm just telling you the truth, okay? My father was in the Army. He used to have to go out in the field, and in the field, they'd wear their Army boots. They'd be, marching through, mud and water, and they'd be marching for miles and miles. So my dad's feet were awful, okay? His feet would be in pain when he came back home from being in the field for weeks. You know what I would do at 6 and 7 years old? Give him a pedicure. I would be literally clipping my dad's toenails, removing calluses from his feet, stretching his toes. This was not child slavery, guys. This was not forced. I just naturally liked to do that. Okay? I liked to pamper people. I liked to ease people's pain. If it was emotional pain. I can remember my mother crying, and I would come and comfort her, right? If my parents got into an argument, my mother would cry, I would go to her and comfort her. She reminded me recently of something very significant that I said to her that I won't repeat here, but something I said to her. I was like, the oldest I could have possibly been was 8, right? So that's me now. I own a salon. I've been in the beauty industry for 20 years. And my other thing that I would do is always style my dolls' hair. I would also make them clothes. One of my degrees is in fashion merchandising, right? I was always doing those. There was always those things that I would draw pictures of dresses, women in these dresses, right? These high fashion runway type of dresses. That was, if you left me alone, these are the type of things I would do if I could make up create my own day, right? And I love to ease people's pain because I was a healer. I knew I was a healer. I knew I was a healer. I knew it then, right? I knew that I could feel other people's pain. I knew I could soothe other people's pain. I knew I was here to teach something, you know? When adults were arguing around me, I knew that they were handling the situation in the wrong way. Of course, then the children couldn't speak up like they can speak up now, so I couldn't say anything. But I would do whatever I could to ease the tension in the house, right? What did you like to do? A lot, my friends that liked to play cooking, I wasn't really into that. Right? But for somebody else, that might have been it. Somebody else that liked to play doctor or scientist. I love to play with Legos and build space stations. Maybe that person is the scientist, the person that liked to write stories. Maybe you're a writer, the person that always liked to dance and do the talent shows. Maybe you're a performer of some kind. Rediscovering your gifts. Go back to the age that you were before the world began to tell you, no, you can't, no, you won't, make sure you don't, you better not. Don't do that. It won't work out. That's scary. Only a few people get to do that. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. Before you start believing all the no's, what was it that you naturally would do if left alone? Okay? I hope that is helpful. We're over an hour now. I try to keep these talks to an hour. Please let me know if that was helpful. Okay? You can leave in the comments now or later for those who are watching this later. If you have questions, I will address the questions as I'm able. Okay? That come up in the chat later. But thank you all so much for being here. Lastly, I want to also mention that I have a new class coming up called Master Your Magnetism. Master Your Magnetism. Okay, this is about learning to control your energies, learning to call upon whatever energy is needed in order to attract what you want to attract in your life, and really understanding how that works. This is a 3-hour class. My next 2 dates are September 28th and October 13th. Okay, I'm going to put a link in the box, in the comment box or whatever, in the comments below, so that you can register through Eventbrite. Okay, it's a 3-hour class. It's normally $30. It's going for $9.99 this time around. Okay, so master your magnetism. Sign up, register as soon as you can. Okay, and I'm going to place the link in the comments below. I thank y'all so much for being on here. I thank y'all so much for spending this time with me, for your support, for your questions, for your comments, for letting me know that this resonates. All right, and I really appreciate those who come back week after week. And you all have a blessed and wonderful night. I love you all. Bye.